Well, it looks like we might finally be getting to the end of the Kavanaugh saga. The FBI report is done. Will we ever see it? Seems not. But we do know that Democrats and Christine Ford's attorneys have already complained that it was unfair. The investigation was unfair, yada, yada, yada. They're saying that it's not a legitimate, and this is a huge shock, by the way. No one saw this coming. I mean, we all thought that they would certainly accept the results, right? That's what we all thought. And the investigation didn't uncover anything and didn't corroborate Ford's accounts. In fact, if it uncovered anything, it just further uncovered the fact that Christine Ford is lying. And, I was among those in the early going who I wanted to be gentle with Christine Ford and I wanted to be generous to her, give her the benefit of the doubt as much as possible. And that doesn't mean taking her story at face value, because I never did that, because there were always holes in the story and so on and so forth. But I thought, okay, maybe, and I said this multiple times, maybe she's mistaken, maybe she's misremembering. Even as the inconsistencies piled up, I said, like many supporters of Brett Kavanaugh and like Brett Kavanaugh himself, I mean, he said this himself, that maybe something bad did happen to her and she's just conflating, she's misconstruing, accidentally conflating one thing with another, injecting Brett Kavanaugh into it accidentally. Maybe that's what I thought. That's what I mean by giving her the benefit of the doubt. But I think now that we've seen all this play out and we've seen the evidence or lack thereof, or really we've seen the evidence which all comes down in Kavanaugh's favor, I think we have to stop being so gentle about it and say what is now very difficult to avoid, which is that Christine Ford is a liar. She may still have been victimized at some point, in some form, at some point in her life. And if that's the case, then I feel badly for her, for that abuse, if she ever did suffer it. But it's just not possible anymore for a rational person, to theorize that this may all be a case of mistaken identity. Somebody is a liar here. Somebody is a straight up liar. And to me, it seems very clear that person is Christine Ford. There's a reason why Rachel Mitchell, who's the sex crimes prosecutor hired by the Republicans, there's a reason why she wrote that lengthy memo we talked about a few days ago, where she said she didn't find the story credible at all. There are too many gaps, and not just gaps, but the gaps are far too convenient, that she can't remember, she specifically can't remember any of the details that could confirm or disprove her claim. She can't remember any of those. Conveniently. She also can't remember the things that she did and said even a few months ago. So here's the thing. If her memory is really that terrible that she can't remember anything, even things that happened in the last month or two, well, in that case, if her memory is that bad, then she knows that her memory is bad, which means she knows that she cannot speak with absolute certainty about something that happened 35 years ago. So even in that case, even if most of this is a memory issue, we still have, she said she's 100% sure it was Kavanaugh, but if her memory is that bad, then she knows that she can't possibly be 100% sure. So at a minimum, that's a lie. And it's a big one. But it's more than that. Ford's story has changed over and over again. And it's changed in a way that is not just haphazard. It's changed in ways that seem calculated and targeted to kind of get around Kavanaugh's defenses. So if we're going to absolve her of all dishonesty at this point, then we have to believe that her memory lapses are coincidentally convenient, and the gaps in her story are coincidentally convenient, and the changes in her story are coincidentally convenient. And not only that, but it's also coincidentally convenient that all of the witnesses that she claims have also suffered amnesia around the same kinds of events. Then there's Ford's ex-boyfriend, who came out, issued a sworn statement claiming that Ford coached her friend on how to pass a lie detector test, claimed that Ford flew recreationally all the time, which would seem to dispel the notion that she has this fear of flying. Ford never once mentioned any sexual assault, despite having dated him for years. Now, on the lie detector thing, the friend that Ford supposedly coached did come out the next day and denied. But notice something. First of all, she denied it to the press. She didn't deny it under oath. Second, and I'm not saying it's true, but she has to deny it. Because if she admitted that she was coached on how to pass a lie detector test when going for this whatever government job, she would lose her job and she could even go to jail. So she can't. She has no, if it happened, she has no choice but to deny it. It would ruin her career, ruin everything. But the real significance, I think, of her boyfriend's testimony is that it is just another person who denies or refutes elements of Ford's story. So if Ford isn't lying, it means that her ex-boyfriend is lying. It means that Kavanaugh is lying. It means Mark Judge is lying. And it means two other witnesses as well are either suffering selective amnesia or are lying. So it's 5 against 1, okay? And the 1 is a very, very lonely 1. 1 is a lonely number, especially for Ford. Because think about what, it's only 1. And that means that not even her parents or other family members or other friends, nobody has come forward to vouch for any aspect of her story at all. And in fact, I think the silence of the people around her is so deafening and so noticeable and so peculiar that it almost counts as yet another witness against her. So she's lying. Now, there's some oddness with the couples therapy stuff because she said that she was in couples therapy because of a remodel of the home, and specifically because she wanted a second front door, which has to do with her fear from the sexual assault. Yet apparently she was in couples therapy in 2012. The remodel of the home was in 2008. So 4 years later, she's going to, really? 4 years later, your relationship is still suffering from the remodel? I don't know. But anyway, we can't see the therapist's notes. I think the reason why we can't see the therapist's notes is that the story is significantly different. The story she told her therapist is significantly different from the story she's telling us now. And it also matters that Democrats know that Ford's story is not credible. Whatever they say, they know that it's not credible. They know it as well as you and I do. Yet they played this hand anyway. And I think ultimately it backfires on them. Because here's what's happened. Democrats have overplayed their hand significantly here. They have unmasked themselves at the worst possible time. Because think about it. They were headed into the midterms. They were looking pretty good. They were sitting in a pretty spot. Because obviously their base hates Trump, hates Republicans, so they were counting on a good turnout. Meanwhile, conservatives and Republicans have been fighting with each other for several years now. That's not a good recipe for voter turnout. It's a great recipe for Democrats, not a good recipe for Republicans. But then Democrats come along at the last minute here. They take off the mask, they reveal their fangs, and they pounce like wild animals on an innocent man and his family. And I think that's caused most conservatives to look at that and to rally together, unite again in many ways, and to refocus on the real opponent. There's just this sense now of a more cohesive unity among conservatives than there's been in a long time. We have the Democrats to thank for that. Because I think a lot of people have looked at this and said, wow, these people are evil. We got to do whatever we can to keep them out of power. That they would stoop this low. They have helpfully reminded us of the fact and given us such a startling illustration of it right now, right before the midterms. But the way that they have not let go, and even now they won't let go, it's backfired big time.